Hello, my friends. This is Lynda Lippin, and welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Welcome back, my friends, to the Pilates Goddess podcast. It's Lynda. I have had a number of discussions with Pilates teacher colleagues in the past couple of weeks about how they're feeling about their businesses, how they're feeling about uh, kind of this after COVID, although we're still kind of in it, world, and what they want to do moving forward. Almost every teacher that I talk to is having issues right now figuring out their marketing. They're having problems getting new clients in the door, whether it's a physical door or or the online door to their Zoom room. And nobody's quite sure why this is happening. But I am, at least in some cases. So for most Pilates teachers, part of the problem is that number one, if you're used to teaching in a gym or a studio where other people handle kind of getting your clients and you work with whoever kind of shows up on your schedule, then you have never really had to worry about niching or defining your clients. You also may be under the completely mistaken assumption that if you tell everybody that your services are great for all human beings, that therefore you will have access and opportunity to attract more and more people to your services. But once again, that's not quite what's going to help. So stop for a minute and think about other fields of, personal service professionals that we deal with. And we're not going to think about ourselves right now as teachers. We're going to think about ourselves as potential clients. So say you have just gotten an osteoporosis diagnosis. And in your diagnosis, they've told you that you really need to do bone strengthening exercises, that your, T-score is bad, that you are definitely a fracture risk, that you need to avoid thoracic flexion, to avoid crush fractures in your spine, and that you need to really, look at what you're doing. And if you're that person and you then go out there to find a trained professional to kind of help you handle your situation, I want you to really think about whether you would go to just a generalized personal trainer or Pilates teacher or even physical therapist, or whether you would choose somebody who has a specialty along with, testimonials and education and all of that to back it up, but who has a specialty in osteoporosis. If you're a woman who has a diastasis recti, you've had your babies, maybe you want to have another baby, but you have this huge separation in your abdominal muscles. And you can't afford, the repair surgery, which is never covered by insurance, then when you once again go to call around to find the trained professional to help you deal with your situation, would you rather go to a, Pilates studio or fitness facility or physical therapist and again have a generalized teacher? Or would you rather have somebody who specializes in working with women with diastasis recti after pregnancy? And I know my answer is I'm going for the specialized person. Okay. I'm not going for the generalized teacher. And if you think about the fact that most Pilates clients, and in many ways, most fitness clients, are coming to us as professionals, they're coming to us with an issue or an agenda. Either they want to, be able to perform something and not hurt themselves or be in pain, i.e., golf or, tennis or whatever. Or they're coming in with some serious issues. They're coming in with hernias and diastases and TMJ issues and sciatica and disc herniations and all kinds of things. And they're looking really for the quickest, best solution to get them from where they are now to where they want to be. And typically in the world, we get the best solutions, we get the best programs, we get the best pathways forward from folks who are specialists. And there's a lot of examples of this in medicine where, if you have a questionable mole, you're probably not going to go to your general practitioner or your gynecologist. You're going to seek out a good dermatologist, right? If you need a root canal, you are going to go seek out a dental professional who performs those. If you need a tooth pulled and you need, say, an implant done after that, you're going to want to go to a fabulous oral surgeon, right, to make sure that you're getting the best care. When I was having a medical issue with varicose veins in my left leg and needed to have a vein ablation, I sought out a specialist at New York Presbyterian to have my procedure done. And I'm glad I did because it was done well. It was done well the first time, and I didn't have to go back. But I also want you to think about this in terms of earning potential, okay? As a generalized doctor, say, your earning level is pretty much going to be capped. But as you dig deeper into specialized medicine, even though there's a smaller pool of patients for the specialists charge more. So, say for me, as somebody who, say, comes into teaching Pilates with 33 years of experience, I've taught continuing ed with diastasis recti and hernia. I am perfectly capable of reaching those clients, and I did for many, many years. But right now, my interest is in keeping women over 50 who have chronic pain, who have bone density issues, feeling and functioning at their best for the rest of their lives. That's my demographic. That is, in fact, my niche. And so I have, in some of my osteoporosis online classes at Revel, I actually have like mother-daughter pairs where the mom's 86 and the daughter's already in her late 50s, early 60s. And they are both taking the class, right? Even though they live in different places and are doing different things. And as a specialist in what I do, my clients can then rest assured that, if I say that I'm teaching an osteoporosis safe class, I pre-modify the class. I get a lot of questions about this. And I'm like, no, I'm just not going to put anything in the class that you can't do. Like, that's what it comes down to. So if you are a Pilates instructor or a personal trainer or yoga teacher or whatever, and you're kind of trying to forge a path in this, brave new world, you are not going to be able to move forward very far and very fast with just a generalized audience in mind. Yes, we know Pilates is good for everybody. Okay, we know exercise is good for everybody. We know movement heals. We know all of these things. And I'm not saying that these things aren't true, but in marketing, there is a phrase, and the phrase is, if you're selling to everybody, you're selling to nobody. If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. And that's why you'll see, how sometimes you'll see a Gatorade commercial and it'll be pro football players. Sometimes you'll see a Gatorade commercial and it's just a busy mom running around all day with her kids. Again, Gatorade's selling the same product, but they understand that they're selling that same product to several different audiences, and that the pro sports people and the pro sports fans may drink it for a very different reason than the crazy busy mom running around with her kids all day in the summer. Okay, these are just, two different scenarios. And that's why you'll see sometimes companies, they put out a certain marketing that definitely targets a certain person or a certain demographic. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we see them continue on with that. Sometimes we see them change, the entire thing. But what we can take away from this and what we can then learn from this is the importance of niching. Now, for most of the Pilates teachers who I've coached, for those clients of mine, they have pretty easily been able to write down sort of who their current clients are. And not just who their current clients are, but who the clients are who seem to get the most benefit and who they most enjoy working with. Okay. Because if you're working with clients who you hate, that's not going to be sustainable for anybody. It's not going to be sustainable for you. It's not going to be sustainable for them. And frankly, there's so many flippin' Pilates teachers out right now in the world that they can find another teacher. Okay. And there's plenty of clients out there. You'll find clients you like. But chances are, if you go through your client list, you're going to find that a large percentage of your clients have certain things in common, and a large percentage of the clients you prefer to work with. And it's okay to prefer to work with certain clients. Why do you think some doctors become pediatricians and some doctors specialize in senior medicine and some doctors specialize in obstetrics and some doctors specialize in non-obstetric gynecology? Because they don't want to deal with childbirth all the time. They want to do different things. Okay, so if you look at those clients, you're going to see that they have certain things in common. For example, you may realize that you have a preponderance of clients who are golfers with lower back pain, or a whole lot of clients who have joint replacements, or a whole lot of clients who are dancers, right? And are having, issues with hypermobility, or, a whole lot of clients who have, rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis, or, all kinds of issues there. So as you comb through this list, it's going to give you actually a pretty good idea of what your niche is. Now, when you look at that, you may think to yourself, I realize I work with a lot of clients like this, but I really don't enjoy it. And you can, in fact, change your niche. I did. I really enjoyed working with the diastasis recti and hernia crew for a while, for a solid 15, 20 years. But at some point, I think as I got older, I just didn't, no judgment, but I didn't want to have those discussions anymore. I didn't want to talk about the kids anymore. I didn't want to talk about the pregnancies anymore. Nothing about that was particularly interesting or enticing for me anymore. Now, that I'm, over 50, now that I, have strong bones, but am always concerned about maintaining that, because I don't know my family history of osteoporosis or, bone density loss, but have a lot of other genetic issues. I mostly enjoy working with my peers. I like working with women over 50, and I like working with people who are in chronic pain because I experience chronic pain. And I enjoy working with people on improving their balance and improving their bone density, their mobility, their tensile strength, all of these things. So I flipped niches. I also discovered in doing this that I really like teaching and coaching other Pilates teachers and fitness people, and I really enjoy talking to them, and I really enjoy helping them. Right. And that led to the creation of my trademark Pilates teacher mastermind program. I mean, it's, led to a whole lot of growth and development within my business. I also niched in another way, right, which is choosing to teach online. And I want to get into that choice a little bit, and we'll do more of that in a later episode as well. But just know that it's really hard to get Pilates equipment right now. If you're just coming out of a teacher training program, or you're like, so into opening your own studio and doing the thing, you need to know that right now, even from major manufacturers like Balanced Body, just due to supply chain stuff, you're looking at a solid, probably 6 to 12 month wait on new Pilates equipment. The other piece of this is that a lot of Pilates studios and a lot of fitness studios are closing right now. If you've listened to the news recently, you may know that SoulCycle is closing 25% of their studios. You know that Peloton's basically closed all of their studios, and they're just trying to deal with their online thing and the app and the bikes, and hope that all, works itself out. We had news in the city, and I'm not going to mention the studio because they haven't publicly announced it yet, but there's a major player in the New York Pilates scene that's about to close multiple studios. And so I'm not so sure that opening a generalized Pilates studio and spending all of that time waiting for the equipment that you've spent, 5 figures on is a great way to go right now. What I really see as the way forward is empowering people in your chosen niche. And, niche has to do with everything from gender to income level to what activities people do to what medical issues they come to you with, et cetera, et cetera. But where you want to be focused on your business right now is on figuring out that niche, figuring out the clients who you best like to serve and who you serve in the best ways. And then really moving forward with your messaging, with your programming, and with your marketing at talking to those people. That is how you're going to build a clientele for yourself. At this point in time, what's happening is that a lot of folks are realizing, number one, that say they were schlepping out to studios and to gyms and to other facilities to attend classes that maybe they didn't really love but felt like they needed to go to. So suddenly, when they were able to do it online, and they realized that they didn't need that super expensive, spin bike that they were paying $50 a class for in the studio, but could actually get on their stationary bike at home with an app with some great teachers and do a great spin class at home, that, why go back? And suddenly they were enjoying also the benefits of, even if they went once a week, of that extra $200 a month in their pockets versus, in the studio's pocket. I have a lot of clients who discovered in working online that they really didn't love the Pilates apparatus, but that some of the things that they loved about it, for example, the closed kinetic chain, the assistance on stretching, the resistance from the springs, that, as I said in the last episode, they're able to mimic at home with, bands and tubing and a tie 4 and a magic circle and a roller. Okay. So I encourage you to really sit down and take a look at your niche. And if you're a new teacher, this is a great moment for you to really be able to decide kind of what kind of studio you want to work in, what kind of people you wish to work with. And then go out and seek the education that you need so that you just know kind of the most that you can about working with this group of people. So for example, if it's, disc herniations, then go learn everything you can about the mechanics of the spine, about what the discs do, about what the different nerve effects are of disc herniations that are going into them, and how best to help your clients moving forward. And then just bust yourself out as the expert in your area on handling disc herniations and back pain, right? If sometimes we actually fall into a niche because we're experiencing what happens. So one of the ways that I got into working a lot with diastasis and hernia was because I had a total abdominal hysterectomy and then had a lot of serious pelvic floor issues after that, and really had to work for myself on handling that whole area. And it turns out that most of the work that I was doing for myself was great for my clients who had diastasis and hernia. And then I spent some time. I did my own continuing education. I went out there. I found the people who knew about pelvic floor issues, about diastasis, about hernias, and learned how to work with those women, and sometimes men, but mostly women. Same thing with osteoporosis, same thing with back pain. So if you're working with people who have certain issues and that's your niche, then take that niche, hold that niche, learn everything you can, make yourself the expert. Talk about it all the time. And that will be a much more promising kind of path into making some money in your business than necessarily going out and worrying about paying rent and getting equipment and being a really good generalist because you've just spent, $50,000 and you need to recoup that money. It's kind of crazy enough that we all spend about $10,000 doing Pilates certifications now, right? And then you're in a situation where you're scared to charge more than $10 or $20 for a mat class. So let's think about that. And that's $10,000 for doing an online Pilates certification. You're going to spend a lot more than that if you're doing a live or hybrid or in studio cert, where you also have to add in privates and you have to add in classes and you have to add in travel and all the other things. So, we spend a lot of money, we spend a lot of time getting our basic global Pilates education, but no one ever talks to us about the fact that once we're out there in the world, we are going to pretty much have to find a niche of clients that we really like to work with so that we can market to those people and actually make some money. Because being a generalist, unless you own a huge Pilates studio that has teachers within it who are specialists, is not going to make you the money that you really wish to be making. So I'm going to close with a client story that I want you to take pretty seriously. And this is one of my past diastasis clients. And when she came into the studio to work with me for the first time and we started working, she told me that she had called a number of Pilates studios and a number of Pilates teachers and told them what her specific issue was. She was also having some issues with prolapse, some issues with leaking, all the pelvic floor things. And she went to at least 2 studios before me where they told her that they had teachers who specialized in handling diastasis recti, and she showed up for a private session, and the teacher who she was assigned to did not even know what the phrase diastasis recti meant. And that's just wrong. So then she realized that she couldn't trust just the front desk people, but she had to do more research. So when she did her research, she found me online because at that time, which is probably about 8 years ago, I was, online as the diastasis recti person in Lower Manhattan. And she found me and she came to see me and we were basically together until I stopped teaching in studio. She did extremely well and she was super happy. And it gets better. She sent like 3 of her friends who were going through the same thing over to work with me. And that is also the power of niching. The power of niching is that if you have a stated specialty and if you really help people who have the problem, they are going to tell everybody. Think about what you do when you're having a specific issue in your body, you're hurting, and you find somebody who can work with you and help you feel better and help you get stronger and attain your goals. You tell people about that, right? You're like, oh my God, I found this fabulous, fabulous massage therapist or personal trainer or doctor or whoever. And then when anyone comes to you and has a similar problem, you're like, no, don't go to them. Go to this person. Okay. That's the person you want to become. You want to become the person who's top of mind for whatever your niche is when they're talking to other folks who have the same problem. So teaching online only, I am now like the go-to osteoporosis bone health person for women in the UK, for people in California, for people in New York, for people in Minnesota, for people in Seattle, for people all over the place. Because when they're suddenly like, oh, I can't, I've got this osteoporosis diagnosis and I'm scared and I don't know what to do. They're like, oh, don't even worry about it. Take one of Lynda's classes, or do a private with her, take her program, whatever you need. And that works. Okay. So stop with the generalizing. Find your people, find your niche, talk to those people, expand on that group, and I promise your business will do better. So thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to support the podcast a little bit more, if you go into the show notes, you can go over to my coffee site, which is ko-fi.com/Lynda Lippin Pilates. And when you go there, you can actually help support this podcast. And if that's not available to you, then the thing you can do for me that would be super helpful and cost you absolutely nothing except a couple of minutes of your time is go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. That, my friends, will help me out a lot and will cost you nothing. So have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you again in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Music brought to you by Nerd Salad. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you liked it. And please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks.